Want to go deeper with Lobbing Scorchers? You know, scratch under the surface, get down even dirtier than we already get? Become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And you know, the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comment section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into another post-game live. The Seattle Sounders just played their second Group B fixture of the 2025 Club World Cup versus Atlético Madrid, and they could not quite pull off the upset. They end up losing 3-1. Albert Rusnak does score a goal in the 50th minute, but that was when they were already down 2-0, and a couple of unfortunate concessions in the second half. But that's about all she wrote for the Club World Cup. Shout out and rest in peace to the Club World Cup. I'm honestly, I've been trying to figure out the exact situation as far as if there's a technicality that they can still advance. I was told that they can't. I put that in my post-game article because the first tiebreaker is a head-to-head. But maybe there's some situation where now if they beat PSG, they'd have, I mean, it's pretty much a wrap because they have to beat a PSG team by multiple goals, by like 3 or 4 goals, I think, for whatever hypothetical might be possible to happen. And PSG, as Christian points out, lost. PSG lost to Botafogo. 1-0. I mean, join the club, PSG. Join the club, losing to Botafogo by 1 goal in the Club World Cup. I can relate. All right, so here's the hypothetical Ryan is saying. Botafogo beat Atletico. And we beat PSG by 4 goals or more. All right, so it's chalked. It's chalked. What if they beat PSG by 4 goals, but then Atletico beat Botafogo? Anyway, yeah, we're gonna be doing some post game takes, hanging out. I was gonna play the Schmetz presser while we wait for more people to trickle in, and then I'll drop the call link in chat. If anyone's feeling it, wants to hop on tonight, I'll drop the link in there, and if anyone wants to hop on and lay down some takes with me, feel free. By the transitive property, we are offensively better than PSG. PSG losing to Botafogo is pretty funny. But yeah, Hunch Punch makes a good point here. PSG low-key, like they actually kind of need to beat Seattle now, I guess. That's not good. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I just think it's funny that PSG lost to Botafogo. Botafogo's pretty good, man. Igor Jesus bammed on Seattle. He also bammed on PSG. Game winner. Taking down the UEFA Champions League winners. What a tournament for Botafogo. I mean, goddamn. But that's the thing. Like, we were kind of saying it when we were assessing how much, if any, chance Seattle had in these games. It's like, in an individual game, anything can happen. That Botafogo team just showed that. Ain't nobody thought they were going to beat PSG. They literally beat PSG, the team that just won UEFA Champions League. So, beat PSG 3-0 and Botafogo beats Atletico. Seattle progresses. I'm going to have to just look fully into this. I was talking about it with my editors beforehand. We came to the conclusion that it was chalked mathematically. But then I saw Botafogo beat PSG, and I was like, wait a minute. Did I just not even take into account like what would happen if that happened? I didn't even consider that. Like, I wasn't considering that as a possibility when I was initially thinking about it. But anyway, if I had that wrong, that's my bad. All right, what I'm going to do is play the Schmetz presser, hear what Schmetz had to say. I actually, I haven't even heard or seen this yet because I was in the mix zone, which FIFA has the, it's kind of sick. You have to choose like whether you go to the coach press conference or the mix zone with the players. They happen at like the same time. So you can't go to both. I've been going to the mix zone. I will tell you guys from being at the mix zone, I was listening to Conor Gallagher's post-game interview, and he said, direct quote, he said, fair play to Seattle Sounders. Like they gave us a little bit of a run there. We were sweating at times. That wasn't an exact quote, but fair play to Seattle is an exact quote. Like he said that they acquitted themselves well. So, I'll take Conor Gallagher's word for it. I think he probably knows ball. I think Conor Gallagher probably knows ball. He's pretty good at playing it. But I guess before I rip this Schmetz presser, I can just give some of my takes from this game, but I guess these two games as a whole, which is that, I was saying it. I've been saying it the whole time. I've been consistent on this as for my hopes and expectations for this tournament. Retain dignity. Just don't embarrass yourself. Don't do anything that sets MLS and the sport of soccer in the United States back multiple decades. If you don't do that and you compete hard, you give the other team a run for their money at times, then me personally, I consider that fine. And I think they did that today. There was points in both of these first two games where it felt like it might get out of hand. Both times that the other team went up 2-0. But to be fair, I feel like the responses were pretty good. They ended up scoring goals in both games. Atletico's known as one of the best defensive teams in the world. I know they got rolled on 4-0 by PSG, but like usually that's kind of their thing under Simeone. They're very hard to score on. Seattle did score on them, so that was cool. It was cool to see them get goals in both the games. And in general, I think dignity was retained. I do believe that. I know some people are going to look at this game today, look at the unfortunate concessions, and probably disagree with that. But I thought the squad was competing out there. I thought they had. I think the attacking performance in this tournament overall has been pretty good, to be honest. A lot of it is like game state. They've been chasing the game a lot, but you still have to take it to the other team in those situations. And I liked a lot of what I saw in attack. But here's the frustrating thing. And multiple Sounders players, Obed Vargas and Reed Baker Whiting, both pointed this out at the game, which is that the goals they're conceding in this tournament are for the most part, it's not the other team like just having way more quality than them. I think the first Atletico goal today, that was one where I was like, okay. I mean, Barrios, they're number 8. You can't really do much to stop that. That dude just hits a good shot. That's a tip your cap and a GG's onto the next play. But the goals in the Botafogo game and the ones in the second half versus Atletico, the one where Nuhu gives away the foul for the set piece, they've been shooting themselves in the foot when they're conceding these goals. And it's like, would it change anything if they eliminated those errors, like result wise? I don't know, but you wish you could have seen what it would have looked like if they had just not done that as much. But for all the talk about Seattle like needing a number 9 for this tournament, I think their issues in this tournament were defensively. That's what I think has done them in these games. I know they only got 2 goals, but by and large, and like I understand what people are saying as far as like when you are XG merchanting, generating a lot of chances, but not finishing them, that's a sign that perhaps a higher caliber number 9, a higher caliber forward would help the situation. I get that. But I don't think that's like the primary thing that did Seattle in here. I think it was the defense, which I guess in general too, like I do wish, again, I don't know if it would have changed anything, but I do wish we could have seen these games with a healthy Jordan Morris and a healthy Ymar just to see what would have happened. Just to see. Not guaranteeing that it would have changed anything. I'm not sure where Gallagher's post-game interview is, Charles. I heard that quote because I was like standing there. I don't know if it's like on video somewhere. And for everyone who is talking about the story that I wrote, I've flagged to my editors the situation. I was talking about it with them like beforehand, and we came to that conclusion that I thought was airtight. So if that's wrong, it'll get changed. It's out of my hands at this point. But I promise you that will get corrected. I'm not gonna go in there and correct it myself when I'm not like I feel like I don't have clarity on what's going on. I know everyone in chat is like given the scenarios, but I just don't know. I think in general, like whether it's actually mathematically chalked or not, like it's pretty chalked. All right. I'm gonna throw this link in chat if anyone wants to call in, but I'm gonna play the Schmetz presser now so we can all watch that. And then while we're doing that, hopefully if anyone wants to tap in, you can tap in, and then we can lay down some takes, cope, whatever the case may be. 1 second here as I pull up Schmetz. There he is.
Cascadiasports.net. Hey there, Brian. I just wondering if you could talk about that first 10 minutes of the second half, 3 goals.
Let me know if the audio's not good.
The good ones or the bad one?
Let's start with the good, and then you can go to the bad one.
Well, look, we can knock everything out. Goals change games. I mean, they started with a goal that, the intensity, the thing that our players learned in these last 2 games is just the intensity is just a little notch higher. So the bouncing ball in midfield, Obed can't bring it down, and the ball comes out, and Reed has a chance to either tackle a guy at midfield or foul a guy at midfield, but that doesn't happen, and they're off. Atletico, when they go with intensity. You want to talk about that? The second goal, Steph has saved our butts like hundreds of times, but now we need to repay the favor. Now our defenders need to get to that rebound first and clear the ball out and, do what we need to do. The third one comes from a throw-in. Which we need to be organized better. The good news about that is, a couple of those goals might be fixable. And then continue with the good news. Our goal was good. Obed showed his quality and a nice little knockdown by Moose. Albert putting the final touches on it. But we had some good moments. Christian laid Kalani in the first half and a couple half chances in the second half, offside goals, that we maybe need to just have a little more patience. But, overall, the first 10 minutes of the game, the first 10 minutes of the second half, the entire 90 minutes, I thought our team represented themselves very well.
Seattle created once again so many chances, especially in the second half, 16 against 15 from Atletico. How to resolve the lack of forcefulness and the lack of score towards the opposite.
Well, it's what differentiates, a team like Atletico and the players that they have, and still our team. We were missing Jordan Morris, our striker. That's never an excuse. We don't use excuses. Other players can fill the role. But I think in those critical moments inside the 18-yard box, I think that's where, the big players earn their paychecks. I would also say defensively too, because, we had some half chances in the second half, and the Atletico players were throwing their bodies in front and trying to, block the shots. So just that little bit of extra, idea, intensity, savvy inside the two 18-yard boxes is what sometimes makes a difference between two teams.
¿Qué tal, coach? Miguel Martín Talavera, de la cadena SER en España. Quería preguntarle por el...
Oh.
Un momento, por favor.
Lo siento. Mi español es muy malo.
No hay problema. Como mi inglés, entonces. Le preguntaba...
This is good tech.
Go.
Sorry. Let's see.
Help out.
What is this, Lobbing Scorchers?
He can help.
I can help you.
Yeah.
Can you go ahead?
Sí, le preguntaba que qué le ha parecido el Atlético de Madrid, si se lo imaginaba así como rival y cuál cree que son los puntos más fuertes del equipo de Simeone. Gracias.
Tengo mucho respeto para Atlético y Diego Simeone. What I liked was that he was intense even at the game was 3-1 in his favor. And I think his team plays like he used to play. He was a tremendous player. And, that's something I learned from. We actually have an exercise in practice that we call Simeone. So we try and defend 4-4-2. So that's the best compliment I can give him.
Thank you. Elliot Almond, Cascadia Daily News in Bellingham. Brian, I wanted to ask you sort of a bigger picture question. Obviously, the most important thing every day you wake up and come to the pitch is getting to the MLS Cup. But with this cup going on now and the World Cup coming back to Seattle next summer, is there an extra responsibility that you and the players have in Seattle and for the state of Washington?
I would think that the opportunity that we earned to play in the Club World Cup, being 1 year prior to the actual World Cup, I don't know if that's responsibility or reward, I might say. It's our job to represent our club, ourselves, and I think the players have done that so far. Judging by what I've seen for the first two games, I think the responsibility of our fans, they ticked that box. They were very vocal the first game against Botafogo. They stayed with us in this game. And so I think this entire experience for the Club World Cup is just going to generate more excitement for our sport. And that's gonna, hopefully, we make a deep run in the playoffs and we can add some more excitement prior to the World Cup coming in 2026.
Hello, coach. Here. Albert Traver de la agencia F. Atletico and Botafogo will be playing on Monday to classify to the knockout stage. You played against both of them. Which one would you say is the stronger opponent for you guys?
You're putting me on the spot. I think they're different styles. I'm looking forward to it just as a fan. I mean, I know we'll have a game that day as well, but I mean, these games are all very exciting games. I mean, I was very happy that MLS did get a victory today with Miami. I think the level of play is very good. I think the Club World Cup, in my opinion, is a good idea. I think it brings together the club teams in a big event. So I will sit back and watch the game as a fan. And who knows? I don't know. I can't predict the winner. But they're two very top teams.
You have interpretation working again.
Nico Tamuri and Como News here in Seattle. Over here. How you doing, Coach? Just the idea that
I got it now.
There you go. The heart that your team showed. Down 2-0, you come right back with a goal, and then certainly even down the stretch, creating so many chances. What does it say about the heart of this team on this stage to be able to do that?
Well, courage. I used intensity and grit and never quit and determination, but the players showed courage today. I mean, they were down and they were able to come back and still fight and, play brave. Atletico's strength is in their transition and their counterattacks, but we weren't afraid to attack. And, that opened us up a few times. But, at the end of the day, the players played to win. And that was courage.
In the middle, Mike Varell, Seattle Times. Similar kind of to a question earlier, but when you get more than 50,000 in the stadium here, just, the feeling, I'm curious how that hit you. Did it feel like a spectacle? Did it feel like a different environment inside the stadium today? And was it what you kind of expected going into a tournament like this?
Yeah, Mike, it was good. It was loud. And look, we've hosted some big events here. MLS Cups, the CONCACAF Champions League final. These types of events really show, the class, the deep roots that we have with soccer in this community. I mean, the fans were excited. There were some Atletico fans in there as well that helped the energy in the building. But overall, Seattle soccer fans show up. And I appreciate that, being a guy that was born and raised here. I mean, the building was rocking today.
Hey, Brian. Hector Rios for the Latin Times. Just out of curiosity, what do you think about the pitch today? Earlier this week, Rivers coach Marcelo Gallardo had said that his players had felt it a little dry, a little heavy. Did you experience any of that from your players?
No, our players think the surface is very good. I have zero complaints about the grass. I thought it's an excellent surface.
Coach Tim Foss, Sounder at Heart, against the biggest team your club has faced so far under your tenure.
So far.
You started Kalani Kosarienzi and Reed Baker-Whiting at fullback. They had pretty tough tasks, pretty inexperienced players. One, what led you to make the decision to start those two players, and how did you feel like they held up?
Well, they did fine. They were good. I mean, look, this is a great learning experience for both of them. The challenges with the left back position after a couple of, not as up to his standards performances by Nuhu led me to that decision. Trying to manage a 3-game week and get freshness on the wing channels, because those guys really put in the mileage during a match. Those are the reasons for the changes, and they performed well. It's just, I have a deep squad. By MLS standards, I have a very deep squad, so I can afford to make some of those changes in a 3-game week.
Here.
Hey, Brian Masvidal again from CascadesSports.net. Hey, Brian, just going back to the transition, you talked about courage, But what else did you see from your team in their ability to stop, a high-level transition team on defense? And then what were you able to do in transition going the other way on offense? What did you like?
Well, the effort, and we warned them, when you're playing against teams at this level, the recovery as a group has to be there. And I think we did that. Freddie and the coaching staff had a specific exercise before this tournament started about just that particular basic defending principle about recovery. And so we'd attack over here and then the ball would be here and I'd make every all 10 guys run back and chase back. And I think the team learned that and it helped us against these two opponents. The thing I liked, again, because we showed some of that against Botafogo, but, Atletico's a very, very good defensive team. I thought we were able to possess the ball and get the ball from back here higher up the field on numerous occasions. I was very proud of the guys for that.
Final question here.
Elliot Ullman, Cascadia Daily News. These games are not exhibitions. You're playing for something. What will the players and you be able to take going back into the MLS season after facing this kind of competition?
It's a great question to end on because this experience is going to make Reed better, Kalani better, Obed better. Everybody in the whole squad is going to get a little bit better, a little bit more an idea of what it takes to really be at the highest level of our sport. So again, I'm super proud of this franchise for, being one of the three entrants in this tournament. It's a massive occasion, massive opportunity for this club. And, we've got one more game left to, perhaps learn some more.
This concludes the official press conference with head coach Brian Schmetzer. Thank you.
That was Brian Schmetzer after today's 3-1 defeat to Atletico Madrid in Group B of the Club World Cup. All right, let's get to some calls. We got Danny in the queue. I'm going to bring him onto the stage right now. He's the only one in the queue, so if anyone else wants to hop on and lay down some takes, I'm going to post the link again. Jump on in. And also, right now, if everyone in chat who's watching this could like the video, that would be great. All right, bringing Danny to the stage right now. Danny, 3-1 to Atletico Madrid. What did you think of the game today? How did you think the team performed?
So I went to the game and I like my takeaway. I had a blast, dude. That was to even walk out to the field and like my voice is gone, so I'm a little hoarse. I was yelling. So, but even to walk out to the stadium that had like when you're walking out from the concourse and you see the lights and everything, and you see the Sounders versus Atletico Madrid.
I know, it's crazy.
Right? Like, so first of all, let's put that into context, and like it's a competitive match, right? That's like I just the framework right there going into the match for me was just like was just wild. I lived in Spain. I've seen La Liga, like it was kind of wild. Like I never thought this would ever happen. Like, in what world would you ever think the Sounders could play any kind of Madrid team?
In like a game that matters, not like an exhibition when they're on their preseason tour type thing. Like, it's been funny too. Like, I've been thinking about that, like booking guests for my shows and researching the opposition. Usually it's like the Colorado Rapids, and I'm like, all right, Georgi Mihailovic, let's see if they can stop him. Now I'm like, all right, now to get ready for PSG. Like
so my biggest take is I was extremely happy. That was like my take at the first half was this is some of the best soccer I've seen the Sounders even play in the first half. I loved it that we attacked. We were able, we conceded a goal, sure, as Sounders. But
that was a really good goal though. Like I'm not even tripping on that goal. It's the ones in the second half where I was like,
yeah,
come
the
on.
one in the first half was a run and gun. They went out to the, I think it was to the right, we're just running out, or to our left, their right, and they just ran at us and they just crossed it to a guy in the middle that was sitting at the top of the box.
But he hits like a world-class shot. Like,
yeah.
That is a first time freaking like top of the box, perfectly placed from a world-class player.
And I think when you have that lineup, I mean, I love Pedro de la Vega. He didn't whiff it. The dude didn't whiff it, So like the ball was coming to him and he didn't. But no, like we did. But I still, after that goal, the way we came back and we almost had a Moose goal. We almost had like the one that snuck in there at the near post. Like there was, had some offensive plays. We were like, even the first 5 minutes, we were extremely physical, which was fun to watch. And we were running at them. And it was, we were able to maintain possession over a team that's world class, right? Like, that's the perspective. And I think the reason why I had such a good time in the first half, because my expectation was I don't want to get played off the field. I don't want the Sounders to get played off the field. And they didn't. They showed up. They pushed back and they pushed. So that's why, dude, 100% credit to like everyone that's trying to clamor that we should have won that game. There was possibilities that we could have won that game. And yeah, defense lost it. I get it. And we had some chances on offense again, but even though we made chances against a world-class team. Like, Danny Musovski is not getting paid $20 million, right?
He's not. No, he's
So,
not.
like,
He's decidedly not.
So like
he is not subject of $40 million transfer fees, which that's the thing about these teams is that every single, like, did you look at their bench? Like, I was just looking at their bench and I was like, okay, I mean, all right, let's play the game, I guess. But I think everything you said was right, especially, just like the vibe in the stadium and watching the team where there were those sequences of the game where they were on the front foot and taking it to Atletico. Like that was fun. And like the crowd was feeding off it. And like, I think the way that you really know that they were holding their own and they were playing pretty well is that at the end of the first half, it was 1-0, whistle for halftime blows, and all the Sounders fans just stand up and they give like a ovation to the team, because they were like, I felt like that was like the fans being like, thank you for like going out there and just like doing what you can, like, and let that token of appreciation. I thought that was a great moment at halftime, because they were down 1-0, but the fans were still getting behind them and giving them like a standing O and trying to like push them on. So
this is the same team that lost to Vancouver too.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So like
they looked way better in this game than they did against San Diego FC.
Yeah. But that's my take, is like that's the same team. Like that's the same starting 11 roughly, right? Like there was some changes here and there, or but I like against Vancouver, like that, if that team showed up against again, oh man, it was so fun to watch. And I think
the Botafogo game, I felt the same way too.
I didn't go to that one. I just watched the second half, which actually the second half was pretty entertaining.
Like from an entertainment, from an entertainment and like good footy perspective, I thought both games were good watches.
But like I'm gonna hit my biggest things are CR7.
Please.
Dude, CR7.
Yeah.
He was a boss. He owned the midfield against
a
world-class midfield again.
So good. Like the way he's played against these two teams, like there's a handful of guys who, and I watched these two games and I'm like, these guys belong against this competition. They excel against this competition. CR7's one of them, man. Like he has been unreal in this tournament.
He was up for it. And that's not going against Obed, because Obed had different qualities. So Obed, like CR7 was amazing, bodying people off, making challenges, just in there. I felt like I think he like literally pushed people off like he was just being physical, but also in a great way. But then Obed, not to take away from him, but he had great runs. Like Obed had some great dribbles, dude, just by people, and like people were trying to pull him back and bodying him, and I like Obed was able to dribble through like, dude, Obed had a really good game too. And so, but it was different, right? Obed was able to maintain possession, like push the ball forward. Well, Christian was just, I felt like the guy taking on people in different ways. Obed wasn't necessarily as physical as Christian in that double pivot kind of role. So Christian wasn't moving forward as much as Obed or able to dribble with the ball. So I feel like Christian was more that like 6 kind of role kind of thing and being placed home, where Obed was kind of being able to push forward. So it's not quite that, like more of a 6 and an 8 role again. But, and then the person that I don't like, I loved the idea of Paul Rothrock in that first half in that first like stint was just, I love his energy that he's bringing to the field when he's running by people and like,
oh god, watching like Atletico defenders get the Paul Rothrock experience was great. They had fouled the shit out of him like 2 or 3 times. He drew a yellow card
into the middle, and they had to pull him down. And I'm like, what? Like, do they understand how much this dude's getting paid? Like, he just got burnt by
Paul Rothrock's on like 92K.
Yeah, and so it's just like, bro, like Paul Rothrock is just here for it. He's making his case. And the person, so like, there's a couple people that are making their case. I think to go in the negatives, I think I love RBW, but he got burnt like 2 or 3 times, like on the flats.
Well, so he got
left to dry a few times.
I think this was a good game for RBW because
I think it was too.
He got the full experience of what it's like playing a team like that, where the play where he almost gives up the PK, I thought he was doing the right thing. Like and I thought it was correct that they waved it off, because that's just 2 guys jostling. And like what I liked about what he was doing. Yeah, shoulder to shoulder. What I liked about what RBW was doing there is just, that's like an example of just not backing down. Like, yeah, that guy, whoever that was, I don't even remember who it was, but whoever it was is starting in the Club World Cup for one of the best teams in Spain. So, like the fact that he didn't back down from that guy and was willing to like go shoulder to shoulder and get after him, like I thought that was cool. And like, he didn't get the PK because it wasn't a PK. Like I think it was outside of the box anyway. But like I also think that you know, like there was a couple times where he got put under it, like on defense, that like, but nothing that I thought was different than I would expect of any left back that was playing against this type of team. And I love what he's able to do in attack. Like I think he's really talented, like on the offensive end.
I saw the starting 11 and I kind of called it a little bit because I didn't watch the first half of the last Botafogo game, but I heard, watching the show and everything, that Nuhu kind of got a little too creative and got a little too chippy or whatever.
Oh, you didn't see the play where that he
didn't. So like I was just like, you know what? Even like the way RBW was playing in the second half of Botafogo, the way that Paul Rothrock was playing, I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, dude, these guys need to start. Now Kent, like he came in, I don't think he added anything. I don't think he added the energy. Kent came in, he wasn't running at people.
He's been struggling. I think there's a fatigue factor there, and then I just think that in what I've been saying is that like in the chess game of these things, like teams adjust to you and then you have to counter adjust to them. And I think with how to use him and maximize him, they haven't counter adjusted. But let's talk about this lineup a little bit, because people are talking about it in chat. The decision to start Kalani Kosarienzi and
I loved
Baker
it.
Whiting. Yeah, so like there was
beast, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah, he was great. I thought they were both. People are getting on RBW about like a couple of the plays where he was under it defensively. It's you're playing Atletico Madrid. I don't really like. I'm not going to get on him for that at all. But just the fact that he was starting to begin with over Nuhu. It was something that I was expecting Schmetz to do, but I wasn't like totally sure that he was.
Yeah, it's not,
and
not necessarily a Spence thing to do. Is change
yeah,
the
like
lineup.
exactly. And Nuhu has been such like a locked in starter for so long. I wasn't sure that he was going to actually bench Nuhu. My opinion, it had to be done. It had to be done. Like the mistake that Nuhu made in that Botafogo game, that is putting yourself above the team. It's putting the team like in a situation where they actually were competing for a result, and it's about more than just like yourself in that moment. And I think when you have a guy who puts himself above the team like that, you gotta bench him. It had to be done. It had to be done. Like I say that as someone who, if you ask me just in isolation, if the Sounders are playing Atletico Madrid with this roster, who do you want starting at left back, RBW or Nuhu? I would say Nuhu, all things being equal, but you can't do what he did and then not have like a consequence for that, because you can't set that precedent.
It's the buildup though, too. It's the past few games as well. It's not just, I think that's what you mean, like by not an isolated incident, like it like in a everything standalone, it's like, okay, if that happened like 5 games from now or something, and he had 3 or 4 lockdown games, we wouldn't even be talking about it, right?
But he did it against Vancouver too.
Yeah, exactly. It's and then he had like a own goal kind of thing in the beginning of the so it's just now it's becoming like okay, now we can see a pattern a little bit, and I think everyone gets better from competition, right? Like look how Kent starting turned Rothrock. Like he just was like, I'm just saying, Kent starting now. Rothrock's like, oh shit, I need to step my game out. And you see Kent or Rothrock like just running at people, and you're like, okay. After the St. Louis game, I would have said Kent is pinned his place in stone with the starting lineup, but now Rothrock is coming back with fury, of that left.
And yeah, so like that's the other thing to talk about, I think, was the Rothrock De La Vega start. I was glad to see that too, because I thought the team looked way better against Botafogo when Rothrock got on the field. And like that, I think that this team's best offense might just be with him starting. Like that's where I'm at. So I was glad to see him get the nod there too. I thought the lineup was spot on today, and like I was even good with De La Vega starting, because I think this is a stage where you got to see what he's got. So yeah, I thought the lineup was spot on. Maybe you could debate KKR, but KKR was balling out there. I thought
there was a couple challenges, but he just stood up to everyone. Like in his corner, and he was able to just he didn't. No one, even Bell actually played well. You know what I'm saying? I think there was 1 or 2 times where you're like, ooh, Bell, he gave up something weird or.
J Bell was good. He almost scored. A lot of people in chat are like down on RBW. I'm not on your guys' page with that at all.
Well, so RBW did give he did get challenged in the flats kind of thing. Like it was a speed race sometimes and then I think he got caught and wrong-footed when they're running at him, and I think he just got burnt sometimes. But the peak, like you said, I think my dad in the stadium, like he's the one that called it. He's like, I think that's outside the box, and then I was like, oh,
what was interesting is that the ref said no foul.
Yeah,
he didn't say because they would have given a free kick outside the box if it was a foul, and they didn't. And I think that was the right call. Like RBW was doing the right thing.
Yeah, so it's RBW. I think
I want to see him play more. I'm fully there.
But then that, I think that will elevate also Nuhu's game as well.
Absolutely, we've seen what can happen with that with Alex Roldan and KKR, which I think that's been my favorite kind of competition to watch this season, as far as 2 guys who are starting level and really like pushing each other. I think the presence of KKR has pushed Alex Roldan and vice versa, so that's been great to see. We've got James in the queue. So Danny, any other thoughts, takes, or anything you want to get out there on either of these games?
I would say a hot take. I would not have put. I like Jesus Ferreira, but I think he's a number 10, not a number 9. I think he's a replacement for Rusnak when Rusnak can't do that many minutes or needs to be subbed out. If he came into the number 9, I think he had like 2 or 3 touches. He's not changed. Like, he doesn't play a number 9 like a number 9. And I don't know, you need to play, like, who's the guy that came up from Defiance recently that we signed? Rosario or no,
Osaze. Yeah,
Osaze. Yeah. So I would rather if him came in the game as a number 9 than that's my hot take, because I would rather him come into the game as number 9 because I think he plays number 9 better.
And they did bring him in against Botafogo, which I thought was I was like, okay, that actually
bold move. Yeah. But like, I would much rather him play number 9 than Jesus Ferreira play the number 9. I don't think we can figure out where to put him on the field right now. And Jesus just does not seem comfortable in any position other than maybe a number 10. And that's already taken. We already have a good number 10 at Rusnak. You're not going to be able to play him out of a spot, most likely, which, so it's that dance. It's
the same, we've been having this debate all season. I think that Ferreira has looked better playing up top lately, but it's still not like the same as having like a true number 9, which is why you're seeing Musovski start these games.
Yeah, but that's my last final push. Like, I like Musovski. He actually pulled like 2 or 3 defenders, I think, on one of the first attacking plays and stuff like that. It was just and we're just joking in the stands, like, oh, they've taken Musovski seriously.
Yeah, that's another related back to the novelty of these games. Like, I was talking to somebody when we were joking about like the visual of a PSG scout like watching these games and being like, all right, Danny Musovski, we've kind of like scouting him up.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking defenders. He's playing space, and I don't know, like, he's doing a number 9's role, which I think Jesus comes back to the ball to try to find the ball, where I think a number 9 should be pulling defenders, like and trying to maybe.
He's not like a conventional target striker. He's just not. But all right, Danny. One more take.
No. I have a few more. I could make many more, but that's all right.
All right. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you as always. Always great laying down takes with you, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey, take care.
Take care. All right. We got James up next. James, give me that thumbs up. All right. Going to bring you to the stage right now. James, thanks for calling in. As always good catching up with you. 3-1 versus Atletico Madrid. What did you think of what you saw today?
I would say that game went pretty much as well as I could have expected. I was worried that it was they were going to come out wounded from the PSG game and just put us to the sword, which I don't think really happened. At the same time, I don't ever feel like they really got out of second or third gear. I feel like if we had gotten a second one and make it 3-2, that they had the ability to turn it up on us. But Julian Alvarez is worth more than our entire team.
40 million more than that. I don't know. God, he's good.
Yeah. And so I'm proud of the guys. I thought they worked really hard in a difficult situation. I was the Botafogo one hurt a little bit more because it really felt like that one was there for the taking.
It was. It's attainable.
I mean, there were. You would think that you want your best chances to fall to your DPs, and I think that's what happened in that game, and it just didn't work out. I think Rusnak put a couple right at the keeper.
He did score a goal. He did score a goal, James.
Yeah, right. On this one, I was talking about the Botafogo game.
Oh, the Botafogo game,
then,
yeah.
Yeah, and then Pedro had that one horrendous whiff, and then put another one.
And then put another one right at the keeper. No, I think you're spot on about the Botafogo game. That was like the combination of the Nuhu blunder to give away the first goal needlessly. Didn't need to do it. And then also just the inability to finish the chances they did create, of which there were actually a fair amount.
Yeah, especially at the end. And it was just it hurt because even if we get a draw out of it, that's another $1 million in prize money.
Yeah.
And if we get a win, that's $2 million in prize money. And maybe that's an issue with the CPA. Maybe it doesn't go straight to the players, but maybe that goes into a salary for U22 or something. I kind of felt that way watching the Miami game today, where Segovia got the equalizer, and it's like, wow, the kid just he was an expensive player, but he also just won him $1 million. And maybe if we had a couple maybe if we had invested in a couple U22s, we're looking at $2 million in the Botafogo game to kind of recoup some of that investment. You got to speculate to accumulate, and I feel that's an area where we've been lacking for a while.
What else did you think about this Atletico game today? Like lineup wise, like the starting RBW and Kalani. Any thoughts on that?
I was not. I totally understand that Nuhu ideally would want to sit him after a couple of his impulsive actions in the last couple of games. But I was nervous about this one because with Baker Whiting, I was worried that it's potentially something where you could wreck his confidence. It's a real sink or swim assignment to put him in against the third best team in Spain, one of the best teams in Europe, and say, "Have fun, kid."
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, people are like, "Oh, he got beat in a couple of situations." Like, he was playing Atletico Madrid. I don't.
It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was. It was fine.
I thought I thought it was going to be a lot worse, and so in what I was worried about, and that they just pick on him the whole game and it wrecks his confidence. I don't think that happened. I don't necessarily know that he's raised his stock, at least not in my view. I think it's the same thing where he's obviously better going forward than Nuhu, and he's obviously not as good defensively. But at the same time, I did have nerves about putting him in that situation, but I think his contract is flat out done at the end of 2025. Nuhu expires at the end of 2025, and then there's an option for 2026. So we do need to start figuring out what we're going to do going into the future on this one. I suppose the best thing to do is keep Baker Whiting going. If you need to slap the U22 tag on him, you can give him a decent contract without a cap hit. And maybe we can just sort of say, thanks for everything, Nuhu, but it's time to move on. But I think with KKR, I was excited with that one because I just think that there's so much more potential there than there is with Alex. I think Alex is really, in some sense, I think he's delivered less every time he gets a raise. Not that I think they're related, but I feel like just the nature of MLS is you get more years in the league, you get a salary bump, you eat up more of the cap. And I don't think we're seeing a corresponding improvement in performance. So if KKR can make that spot his own, I think that would be a big benefit.
Andrew coming in with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate you, man. Thoughts on Obed today? Yeah. Appreciate you, Andrew. Thoughts on Obed? I think he. I don't know if it's been like a. The price skyrocketed situation, but I think you could say it's a price went up situation. I think he's looked. I think he and Christian have played very well in this tournament. I really like the work that Obed has been doing in terms like his ball progression. I think Danny was talking about it earlier, but just how he's able to get like wiggle out of situations and then like be proactive and move the ball forward and create these dangerous transition moments. He's so good at that. And I think that you're seeing that against really high level competition in this tournament. What did you think of Obed, James?
Good game. One thing that I noticed is it felt like all the marketing for this tournament was built around Obed. They had that cool feature about him up in Alaska. The MLS artwork featured, I think it was Bouanga, Messi, and Obed. So obviously there's I think that's putting a lot of pressure on him. I think the design of that was they were hoping that it was going to either increase the price tag or at the very least increase some bids. And I think that rubbed off him on a little bit in the sense that I think he was taking more risks. than he usually does. I think he was trying to do more than he usually does, and that's not a bad thing, but it definitely felt like he was trying to show out for people, show out for the European teams that might be interested in him, and I don't think it boosted his stock, but he certainly didn't hurt it either.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit this one from Jonah Gallegos Music because he came in blazing hot. Sounders fans need to demand a bit more of the team. This whole "wow, we never gave up and kept fighting" is just garbage. It's a failure to not get out of the group stage. That should be our mentality. Look, I know like some people feel like that, and like everyone has license to have their own standards and expectations. For me, I try to look at it from a standpoint of like, what can you realistically expect? And you guys understand, like if they had beat this Atletico team, given the payroll disparity, which is the main thing that I'm looking at, it would be one of the most talked about, insane, historic accomplishments an MLS club has ever pulled off. Like,
not just an
full
MLS
stop.
club.
Yeah, like any soccer team, like any
in
terms
of an upset, that would be up there with USA beating England in 1950.
Yeah, like that's so you have to. I try to start from a place of like, what are the odds like? What are the realistic expectations? Atletico Madrid is one of the best teams in the world every year. They have who I think is probably the best coach in the world, or at least like of the last like 10 years. Okay. So like the idea that you're going to go into a game like that and just impose your will and score a bunch of goals and like beat them, it's just not how it goes. It's just not. Like, you're setting yourself up for crash outs, in my opinion, if you go into it being like, if we don't win this, it's a failure. They have individual players who cost double what the entire Sounders roster costs. You got to understand that. Like, and factor that in.
And that was, as soon as that draw happened, I don't know how anybody could think that getting out of the group was realistic. I mean, it would take not just one miracle, but two miracles. So to say we should have gotten out of the group stage is, I mean, that's just not realistic. But at the same, I will say I do think that there were certainly things we could have done better in the build up to this. I mean, the U22 slots, obviously, and I hate to say it, but somewhere in the world there is a $7 million transfer fee player who would have produced a lot more than Pedro de la Vega did in these two games.
That's fair.
I don't know what's going on with him. I really feel like his first two games before he got the injury last year, I thought he looked really bright. I thought he looked productive. And that's just been dropping steadily. And I don't know what the deal is, but he was not good in either game. And so you can look.
Yeah, and like it just if you I've pointed this out, but like if you look at the total output they've gotten from that spot on the roster the entire time he's been on the team, you're looking at, I think, 2 goals, 4 assists in like 13 or 1400 minutes. If that's what you get out of one of your deep DP spots over the period of time that he's been taking one up, that you are going to see that reflected in your points per game and your record. Like, that's just it's just a reality.
Yeah. And so they need to start thinking about what the future is going to be with him. Maybe right wing just isn't the place for him.
I'm willing to give him the season, like, and see where we're at the end of this season. Because I mean, like, there's still a possibility that a lot of this is to do with fitness, like getting back into the, but like, I think we're at the point now where he hasn't been injured for a couple months. He's been playing regularly. Like, we need to see it. So like, there's a whole rest of the season to go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And it could be but it doesn't feel like he's tentative because of the potential of more injury. It feels like he's playing hard. He's just not getting anything done. And I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if he's not meshing with the rest of the players that we have on the team. I kind of feel that way about Jesus sometimes, where it's, the effort is there. Every once in a while you see the talent, but it's something's just not quite clicking. So it's that's gonna long term gonna be something we're gonna have to think about. So I suppose I would say I disagree with the poster that it's disappointing not to get out of the group stage, but at the same time there were definitely moves that could have been made better, or more signings that could have been made, particularly in the U22, that maybe gets us at least a point against Botafogo, if nothing else.
Do you think anything looks different if they have a healthy Jordan? I don't know, but it would have been. I just wish we could have seen it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the question is how quickly could they adjust to having to keep a deeper line, because I think that's Musovski. I think is better than Morris in terms of in the box movement. I don't think Morris's movement, when we're trying to, put in a cross, or Musovski's really good at finding space to get kind of a tap in or something like that in a way that I don't think Morris is, but Morris is obviously much better vertically.
Yeah, exactly. Which they could have used.
Well, but I am a little skeptical about that, because I thought the efficacy of that had kind of started to dry up at the end of last season. I thought it tended to work with teams that weren't very good, and then once we got into the playoffs, it really, against better teams within the West, it really wasn't working anymore. I don't think there were any breakaway goals within the playoffs last year, so maybe that's just something that teams at a higher level are able to deal with. I don't know, but I frankly agree with Schmetzer not risking him out there, because you're down 3-1 to Atletico. You put Morris out there.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way he should have been in that game. There's no way. But,
he might end up getting hurt. So I guess I'm mostly just sad, because he was one of the players who got us to that point, and he wasn't able to participate. So that's sad.
Exactly, man. That's just that it sucks. Like that's like one of the main reasons it's unfortunate. But then also, I just I would have liked to have seen what they could have done with their first choice number 9, and also Yamar. It would have been. I think maybe they concede a goal or two less over these 2 games if they have him in there. So.
It could be that second one, the one that Axel Witzel, who I did not realize was a center back now, headed in. That was a bit of a mess. That was a lot of ball watching. Maybe Yamar could have organized that a little better.
Yeah, I just think in general his presence, his solidity and technical ability, and his physical ability too. Like just he's such a big physical presence. Against teams like this, they really could have used that. So, I think just in general, it's unfortunate that they had to play these games without their 2 most important players at like their respective positions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I did really, again, no disrespect to the previous commentator, but I think you have to praise some of the work in this, because look, at the end of the day, Paul Rothrock makes $100,000.
Yeah. Paul Rothrock was playing on Toronto FC too, not knowing if he was going to be a professional soccer player like 2 years ago.
Yeah, he makes less in a year than some of those Atletico, perhaps a significant number of those Atletico players make in a week. So you can't expect miracles from him, but he gave you a hell of a lot of effort. So.
Absolutely. Well, I got Hunch Punch in the queue, but James, you got any last thoughts and takes you want to get out there about the Club World Cup or the PSG game season coming up here? Anything at all?
I think that PSG losing to Botafogo was the worst possible thing that could have happened to us.
It was, yes.
So that's
but it was pretty. It is pretty funny that they lost. So I'll take that.
Yeah, I didn't watch that game. I was watching the U.S. national.
I didn't
game.
either.
But
did we win? I haven't
it
watched
is funny. And hey, Botafogo, I'm sure. Well, actually, based on what I've heard about their finances situation, they definitely needed the prize bonus more than PSG did. So good for them.
Yeah, no, good for them. That's been a hell of a tournament for them. But all right,
And,
James, thanks for the
and
call.
Good for Miami as well. I watched that game. Good for Miami. I was happy.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. James, thanks as always for the call.
Absolutely.
Always
Have a nice evening.
Appreciate you laying down the takes. Yeah, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, we got Hunch Punch coming on next. I'm going to drop the link into the queue if anyone else wants to hop on and lay down some takes. Ramo Land says there's no way the attendance was 51K. Looking at picture taken with May through the second half, large swatches of empty stadium. I don't know what pictures you were looking at, but I was there the whole game, and it was freaking packed. I don't know. I don't think the 300s were open, but like I was surprised at how packed it was. And I felt like it was like that throughout the entire second half. So I want to see those pictures because I mean I was sitting in the press box and the joint looked pretty packed to the brim to me. But all right, bringing Hunch Punch to the stage right now. Hunch Punch 3-1 versus Atletico Madrid. How are you feeling? What did you think of what you saw today?
Good game overall. I was entertained, and that was key. I thought the atmosphere was good. My lingering, resulting feeling, sadly, is disappointment, but only because what I had hoped was at least one more goal from our side. I thought we had one more in us at the very least. However, if we had scored that, my disappointment may be even greater because we could have potentially gotten a result by going one further, or better yet. However, who knows how Atletico responds to that? You know, once the game draws closer.
Exactly. You got to keep the butterfly effect in mind sometimes with these things.
Right.
Like people were doing after the Botafogo game. I think Noah at one point was doing the like, well, if you take the Nuhu out, error out, they would have tied. And it's like, no, the game would have played out entirely differently if that hadn't happened. Like that, it wouldn't have like been the exact same series of events like that would have affected, and then the whole thing is different. So
yeah, I think you could draw a more of a circle around the Nuhu event just because of how pivotal that goal was. The yellow card, him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. You can draw a circle around it. Can't like guaranteed say that the game would have played out the exact same.
Yeah. So I'm gonna drop a little science here in case people are unfamiliar, if I'm permitted.
Yeah, drop some science.
Yeah, man. Here we go. So I'm gonna talk about osmosis, and I think this club, at least, God, maybe 10 years, maybe not, maybe close. They're an osmotic team, and osmosis, it has to do with biology, and it has to do with, for those that don't know, leveling of things on two sides. And specifically within science, let's say you had a container, a cell that had fresh water, and outside it was salt water. And it allows those things to pass through that cell wall until both sides are equal. They have salinity of an equal stature, meaning either they're equivalent. Seattle for so long is a team, and you can probably acknowledge this, Ari. We played to the level of whomever we're facing. We will play down. God, we will play down. We'll play down, we'll play down, we'll play down. And over these last two games, the opposite has been true. It's osmosis. We're looking at who we're up against, and we're rising or falling to the level of who we're across from. And that has been consistent. And they have continued to rise. And I don't think necessarily in this game in particular, they were quite there when they stepped on the field, but after about 10 minutes, they figured it out. They figured out they got about 1.5 seconds, and someone, if not two someone's, was going to be all over them if they had the ball, and that 1-2 passes had to be a requirement, and the pace and speed and physicality of this game, not fouling, but physicality, you were going to feel whoever was coming towards you, had to be adhered to. And I think whether it's practice or otherwise, like this kind of play can motivate this team to rise to that level. Now, how do you carry that out after this tournament? I don't know. But I think what I'm saying is the talent and the staff and the team can respond to that and rise to that, but they've got to be challenged to that. And I've seen it again and again. And 3-1, you could say, okay, maybe they didn't. I thought they were competitive. I thought they were dangerous. And I think at some points in the game, Atletico may think they're dangerous.
I know they thought that. I don't know if you were on the show earlier, but
Yep, been here.
Yeah, Connor Gallagher even said as much. So, a couple of their players, sometimes that's just lip service. But I was standing right looking at Connor Gallagher like 5 feet away from him when he was saying it, and he didn't say it like it didn't feel like lip service. It felt like he was like, no, that team was they were low key kind of like on us, but he said it in a British accent and not in that exact like quote, but that was his general sentiment.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Oh, quick shout out to Rosie in the chat, by the way. She is just dropping all kinds of stats and knowledge, which is fantastic in terms of our chances. Oh, she's crunching the numbers, so shout out to her. And then Ari, I am curious how you keep getting Pedro Pascal to call into this show, like Pedro, Danny, Pascal. Like,
I hadn't made that connection, but
you must be famous at this point.
That's a good shout.
So let's run down some things here, if I can.
Yeah, go for it. No one's in the queue right now, so keep cooking.
It's between Roldan and Fry right now for your MVP of this team for this tournament right now. It's hard to say who.
I think it's easily rolled on, but that's just me.
You could say that, but the saves that have kept this team in these matches, Fry has made, including that one where he just stood the dude down in the first half.
That was insane. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I think there's a lot to praise about the team's performance today. I was proud of like how they competed, how hard they worked, all that stuff. They were lucky not to be down by at least 2 or 3 goals in the first half.
Yes.
I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. They're number 9, the Norwegian guy. I have no clue how he missed that first one. That was like I was like, that is the most guaranteed goal I've ever seen, and I have no idea how he missed that. And then they had the one where I can't remember who it was, but he was in a absolute 1v1 with Fry, and Fry saved it. So like the shot on Atletico's second goal at the beginning of the second half gets by Fry and off the post, and then it ends up getting scored on. Maybe he could have done better there, but I think you have to take into account the first one that I'm talking about, the guy just straight missed it. But the save he made on the breakaway, and then he made at least 2 saves against Botafogo that absolutely kept that game like within striking distance. So people were getting on Fry today for not saving the one on that second goal, but I'd forgotten about the breakaway and the guy who missed the wide shot.
I mean, that's 1v1, and
yeah, that's as 1v1 as it gets
against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. Like, Fry's getting up there. He doesn't have the reflex of a 23-year-old, but holy crap. Like, you needed him, he did it. So that's why, like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I will say this. Christian Roldan is definitely, he came into the league, and his brother did too. In their first 2 years, they were chase the ball Andes. They were in the spots that they were slotted to be in, and they would literally just pursue the ball without much purpose. Like they would be passing it around. They wouldn't know what to do. They were going to try to defend. For this first few years, Christian trained, if you want to call it, mentored, I don't know, under Ozzy and developed those skill sets. And then as Ozzy moved on, he trained more or less. He kind of was side by side with Nico, and he developed some of those skill sets. Christian is definitely back to his Ozzy roots, and we need it. And it is so appreciated. And if he could just go one more level with it, where he's diving in safely, because I can only think of the number of tackles that Ozzy made, like where you're like, oh my God, that's Yale. And it turns out, no, not even close. And it was so clean and crisp, but it was just the mentality. And Christian is definitely leaning back towards that 6 that was Ozzy. And so I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
No, that's a good shout because I've been saying for years that just in general that this team is like a little too nice. Like they're all great guys.
Yeah.
They're all great guys. They're all nice guys. They're all like guys that that if you meet him, you're like, wow, what a great guy. But like, and that's great to have. But you on every team, you need like an Aussie, just like a guy who's not nice, like has some bite to him, has some edge to him, has some like swagger about him, and isn't afraid, not going to back down from anybody. Will go into challenges, will slide tackle the shit out of you. That was all stuff that Aussie brought to the table at like the best level I've ever seen anyone for this team, and they've never like refound someone who has that type of like attitude and edge to them. And Christian is not that. He's his personality, he's a very nice dude, but like he is, I think you're right, like he is playing, like now that he's back playing that sixth position full time, he is stylistically like doing all that stuff, which he might not have like the personality attitude that Ozzy had, but he's doing that same sort of stuff, and it's like been invaluable for this team this year. And like you're really seeing, I think, the level of his skill in particular in this tournament, because like I was saying earlier, you watch Christian out there, he does, not only does he not look like out of his depth, he looked like just as good as those guys to me. Like
he was unafraid, he played fearless, and his two top assets to us, at least right now, are endless work rate and the best ability that anybody could argue, and that is availability. Dude stays on the field, start to finish, doesn't miss matches. I think there was like one stint in his history of here where he had an injury other than the concussion situation where he wasn't able to play. And that's been it. Like he is just persistent. He is the tide. It is you can count on it. It will come in and you don't want to be there when it does. So I've been a big fan of everything that he's been doing so far. I hope he goes one more tier above where he's at. But like I said, between the saves that Fry made and what he did, it's hard to say who's MVP. And if they shared it, I'd say that's fine too.
Rosie's saying that Paul Arriola was going to bring some of that. Unfortunately, he got injured. I think that's a good shout, and I would actually throw Paul Rothrock in very much like in there. He's got a lot of what I'm talking about in terms of like what I love about Rothrock is he's not afraid at all to be like an irritant, like get under the skin, talk shit. Like he provides a lot of that. But even the Pauls, Rothrock and Arriola, like if you met them off the field, you would be like, that's like the chillest, nicest guy ever. Which I'm not saying like they need like a guy that's going to be an asshole, but I guess I kind of am saying that. Like Ozzy was a very nice guy off the field too, but he had like a different like edge about him, like than the guys we were talking about. I don't know how to explain it, but
no. So let me put it like this. I mean, it could be a Doberman Pinscher, it could be a Rottweiler, it could be a Golden Retriever. They want the ball, and you could perceive all of them as being different. One of them is nice, one of them is mean, one of them is aggressive. None of them is going to bite you, but they're going to do everything they can to get that ball. You may see Rothrock and Christian as a Golden Retriever, and that's fine. And they don't want to kill you, but they're going to take the ball from you. Now, if you want to see him as a Doberman or a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull, same difference. It's just your perspective. They're perfectly nice, but they are absolutely coming for you, and they're coming for the ball, and they're not going to kill you, but they're just definitely going to get it away from you best they can. And Rothrock, I would say, his energy is a little unfocused, which goes into my next thing. Pedro de la Vega and Rothrock shared similar energies in this match. Like they were all over it, and they were smothering people, not necessarily to the best degree. And Pedro picked up a few fouls doing so, but I love to see it from him. I just wish he could have done more with it once he won it. Like he wasn't converting those efforts into possession or dangerous plays as a way. And I would say, I mean, maybe, speaking out loud or thinking out loud here, we want Pedro de la Vega to be a defensive player in the respect that any other player is on the field, but we expect him to deliver on offense. And so if his energy being spent to gain possession doesn't lead to an assist or a shot, it's kind of like, well, what is he doing? We don't need him to be in the role of like the Christian Roldan where he's just stealing possession and passing it back to our center backs, which, by the way, both of them, Bell and Reagan, did fantastic. I wish we had Yeimar to run a little bit more of the defense there, and I think that's what kind of killed us on the goals we gave up.
Yeah.
It's just organizing that from a Marshall standpoint, not to belittle Chad Marshall, but just, organizing it from that perspective. And I'll also say every shot that scored off from Madrid, it's like they're playing the crossbar challenge during the match. Every single one of them hit that top bar. It's like, but it's the finesse to nail the most dangerous spot outside of the keeper's reach.
That first Pablo Barrios shot was so sick.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, like when he did that, that's the moment where I was like, oh, this is probably gonna get ugly. But it didn't get that ugly. It went okay.
No, it didn't. And those first 2 minutes were nervy. And if they had scored or converted 2 or 3 or more of those, it could have been real bad. The fact that they just were sailing them, almost like they're our guys shooting the ball, or they just do not want to put it on frame. A few more to run down here. I thought Reed Baker-Whiting did great. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, his performance has been more polarizing than I expected. If you had asked me like right after the game without having seen any discourse about it, I would have told you like RBW was more than holding his own. He was competing out there, and he had a lot of really good plays in attack, which I think is like an element that he brings that Nuhu doesn't. He struggled a little more defensively at times, including the play where he almost gave up the PK. But I mean, he was playing against Atletico Madrid, so like, I don't know. You think you're gonna like get out of a game against that team without them putting you under pressure, without them putting your players under pressure at times? They are going to get theirs. They are going to get theirs. That is just like I don't know what kind of reality we're living in where like you're expecting the team to like smother Atletico Madrid. It's just not going to happen.
Not to mention they have coaches and players too. When they see newer players on the right and the left of our side, they say, okay, well, who are we going to overload or attack? Who are we going to go at? Like, no fault of Reed Baker-White. And if I'm being honest, like I played a lot of soccer in my life and mostly on defense. I felt like he had his lunch eaten a little bit more in the Botafogo match than he did on this one. And I think he was kind of set up to be prepared to drop back. Now, that's not to say he was great, but I don't think he was nearly as exposed as he was the first time defensively. And then you talk about him making, what's his name? I can't think of it. Where is it? Lorente. And then that shot, if he had leveled the game right there at the end of that first half, he went left and he had all the right on the side of the goal. Oh my God. Like we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be talking about, okay, what value did he just increase himself to be going forward? Because I think him and Vargas, which moving on to Vargas, both increased their values, but Vargas clearly played with nerves. He had nerves today. He was frustrated at other players. He wasn't making the connections. He wasn't picking up his head to see the passes when he needed to. It clearly got to him a little bit. But he still played well. Like I was still happy with what he did overall. Bell, I thought did fantastic. Some of his passes were just spot on, and then the way he was somehow finessing forwards that were pressing him when he's not quite midfield but almost there, like gained possession, worked around him, and then completed the pass. Like was not bothered by the fact that literally Real Madrid is pressing him at midfield with no one behind him.
Yeah.
I thought JP coming in the second half, he looked phenomenal. Like he doesn't have the wheels that he did, and that's kind of the problem. And you were referring to we don't have somebody like Ozzy. JP was kind of that role filler for a minute.
He was, and that was the whole idea of his like signing to begin with. Is like he was the wearing the number six replacement.
He's lost his wheels.
Well, I mean, that aside, I don't like. I'm talking like more about personality stuff. like JP, you want to talk about a great guy. I mean, like that's like.
But he wears the black cleats too.
The
Like
most,
he's a killer.
Yeah, no, he is. But there's just kind of something different about the way Ozzy did it, I guess. Like Ozzy was just different.
I mean, he's the honey badger. There's a reason. But he did well. He gained us possession there in the midfield, and maybe bringing him a little bit earlier, surprisingly, would have done us a little bit of better good. I thought KKR struggled a bit. I was not. I was big on him, but he just did not seem to own his space, as it were. It felt like they just kind of played around him, and he really wasn't delivering in possession if he gained it. Still big on the dude, but it was not a great game, in my opinion, for him. Looking over a couple of things here. Some sort of out of some random things about FIFA running the game. I don't know if you recall, you probably don't because you're up in the press box. They played this tolling bell before the game. It was just this ringing bell before Botafogo, and they let it go for 2 minutes. It was the weirdest thing ever, and it's is this supposed to be ominous? It's kind of weird. Thank God they got rid of that in this match. But to the person who talked about the 51,000, I think they easily had that looking at the crowd sizes.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't.
It was the upside 300s on the corners that seemed to not have anybody, but everybody else even on both sides from what I could see. And then all the downstairs was full. And my friend was even saying, man, I hope it's 50-50 at least. Madrid, Seattle. I think it was probably easily 70-80 Seattle to Madrid. I mean, you could hear some of them, but I think it was majority Seattle fans, and they did.
It was definitely majority, but I think both Botafogo and Atletico had very good presence there. But it was it was very majority Seattle, and I think the crowd was really into it, and I think it it really added to the whole occasion.
It felt good being there. It felt good watching it. It never felt like we were truly out of it in any perspective. It would have been nice to keep a 1 goal differential, and giving up that third goal right after we scored ours kind of was a damper, but it didn't feel like we weren't able to just get a second one in there, and that would have been nice. The ref was being a bit weird with the goal kicks. He kept stopping Stefan Fry taking the kicks, and then we wanted to take fast free kicks. He just kept getting in the way again and again and again and making us bring it back. I thought that was weird. And then people have been a little bit critical about why wasn't Nuhu in this game. I think that was fine, and
it had to be done. It had to be done.
And I'm big on Nuhu. And I think
I've been the one who says consistently that the amount of outrage discourse he generates is not proportional to what he actually does. But even in this situation, I have to be you have to bench the guy there. You just do.
Well, and we give him a lot of credit for his defensive prowess in terms of closing people down and running them down. Part of that is because he puts himself out of position and gives silly giveaways where he's got himself way up the field and he has no choice but to cover back. And that's, part of the youth and speed. What if we had somebody like anyone else, Reed Baker Whiting, whoever, that wasn't giving the ball away and didn't have to track back to make that defensive play because they did cough up some ridiculous pass or some poor cross. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. What I'm saying is we admire Nuhu for what he does, and he does a great job with it, but he's kind of creating the situations to have to do that.
My thing is an error that happens from the run of play, when you're trying to make a play and it's part of the context of the game. If that happens, especially in a game like this against opposition like this, I can live with that. That's going to happen. What Nuhu did was not part of the game. That was losing your head
100%
and putting yourself above the team. So,
and I was disappointed. I mentioned this in the last call-in. I was disappointed that Coach said in his presser, part of why we subbed him off at the halftime, and I had to have disciplinary conversations with him there. I wish he had just said, I didn't have to say anything because the team let him know and took care of it.
I guarantee you they did.
No, of course they did, but I just wish he would have
like actually
left it in that way and said, I didn't need to say anything. This is a team. They understood. He understood. That's how it's being handled. I made the change because that was necessary, and just left it at that. All I can say is that if we can in the future, MLS wise or otherwise, start Reed Baker Whiting on the left, then have maybe Kent in front of him, sub Kent off, move RBW up, bring Nuhu on behind him. Like, that is some value. That's some danger, so long as one of them doesn't hang the other one out to dry. But I don't see why there would be any reason why, at least from his skill set, RBW can't move up for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the game on the wing with Nuhu behind him.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean that's versatility. But yeah, I mean, I'm only disappointed because I just wish I could have scored one more. But I had a good time.
They were fun games to be at. Like I enjoyed watching them. Like it was like the sequences of the games where Seattle did like have when they were on the front foot and they generated some chances. Like it was fun. It was like for me, it was one of those things where like I wasn't expecting them to like score that much or win. So like anytime that they did get close or they generated chances, I was like I was enjoying it. Like it was fun to watch.
So let's go outside wildcard here, match aside. And this was my Pyrrhic victory of the overall situation, and it worked for us back when we had the World Cup qualifier. At least I think it did. Maybe we can't win these matches. Maybe we have to fight in tooth and nail to potentially get a result. And I'm not advocating or giving up on the fact that like we shouldn't be competitive and that we should not have an expectation to go in to try to win. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying like aside from that, and I think we've done a good job of it so far, we'll see what the next match goes to, is creating a good atmosphere and showing what the facilities and the town and the crowd is like. There was about 6 months to 8 months ago where Griezmann was hanging out with like some Seattle player.
Yeah, he's boys with Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, and he was on the field today, and I was thinking is like, man, if we could make a good impression.
We've talked about that. Like, because the Griezmann to MLS rumors were real, and like it ended up mostly being towards LAFC. But I definitely the thought was in my head at least, like Julio, come on.
And it doesn't have to be him. It could be any of these players who eventually, like in 3-4 years, decide they want to give MLS a shot. And all it takes is a number of them, and then the tide starts to turn. But my hope is that we could make an impression as a city and as a location.
I think that much was accomplished in terms of just like you're talking about like vibes and atmosphere and spectacle. Yeah, like I think all that stuff was successful. Like as far as just like the spectacle of the occasion and it being big crowds and also the soccer being played being pretty fun and entertaining. Like I thought all that was good.
In Seattle, the city, and on the coast, and June weather is not terrible. You know, it's not Miami, it's not Dallas. You know, all those things. That was my hope. Is that we could maybe stick in some people's minds. But that said, I don't know if Vargas is going to move on. I don't know if Reed Baker Whiting is going to move on. But I think both of them made some cases in terms of attracting some attention. We'll see.
Vargas is already, I think that's a foregone conclusion. RBW will see. I know he was the one when he was coming up. He was the one when he was coming up that was getting scouted by like even bigger clubs than Obed's being talked about being linked to. And then he got injured for a couple years. And I think that kind of cooled off, but I think he's just now starting to play again. So we'll see if he can keep boosting his stock. I think he's going to be playing in the second half of the season here.
Check out the post-game pressure with him. He especially if you're in Europe and especially if you're in Spain, I think he may have made some impressions, especially with how he treated his results, and he was very critical of himself, maybe overly so, but did not know that dude was fluent in Spanish either. And like he just was handling the questions left and right. And it all goes to like, if you have a staff that is bilingual or needs to be, like, I mean, just one more asset, one more tool in the tool belt. So if we can improve his value as well as Nuhu's, more power to everybody.
Absolutely. All right, Hunch Punch. I think I might start wrapping it up here. It doesn't look like anyone else is in the queue, but thank you as always for calling in.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for doing the show post game, man. I can't tell you enough how much game for game, match for match, it's just a great outlet, and to hear from other people, good or bad, otherwise, it's so cathartic. It just is good.
I appreciate that. That's the goal. Just give the fans a place to say what they want to say, get the takes that they want to get out there. So glad you enjoy it. We'll keep doing them. Hopefully we can do them. I think it's the best to do them like this, like the night of the game.
I agree.
Scheduling for Noah and I does not always allow for that, especially if I'm working late. But we'll try and do them like post game like this whenever we can. And yeah, just give a space for the fans. That's what we try to provide at the end of the day.
Well, here's on the PSG. Now that they need a result, I mean, I thought today could be a bloodbath. Well, I wouldn't classify that as how today went. I would say it was competitive, and even if we had got one more, even more so. God, I don't know what to expect with PSG. Fingers crossed. Who knows? You know, puncher's chance.
Yeah, it could be bad. Whatever. I don't really care. All right. Thank you, Hunch Punch. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right. That was the last call in the queue. I'll hang out for a few more minutes if anyone else. Probably if anyone else does tap in, I'll do one more, two more max. But if not, going to start the process of wrapping it up. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in to the post game live. Jonah's getting dangerously close to crash out Chris territory in there. I think it's a situation where we're being dramatic. Like the way you're talking about it, RBW had like a shocker, like the worst game you've ever seen. I think you're frustrated with how the game went. You wanted him to win. You wanted Seattle to take better results in this tournament, and you're taking it out on RBW because he's the one that you've like targeted. I think if you showed the average neutral that game and asked them how RBW did, they would be like, he did like fine, pretty good at times. Like coming in with the like you all don't know what you're watching thing. Like I think you might need to look at yourself on that one. I think you might need to look inward. RBW was okay. Terrible game. He got put under it on defense a couple times against Atletico Madrid. Yeah, he did. He also had some good plays going forward. He also held his own defensively a fair amount, I think. I don't know like what I think you're probably referring to the play where he almost gave up the PK, which he didn't give up a PK on that. But there were times where he got caught up and then they put a ball in over the top and he had to like frantically sprint back. I mean, that stuff happens in soccer. Your team's not going to go through an entire game against anyone, let alone La Liga powerhouse, and not have to like face adversity, not have to be under pressure, not have plays where they're on the front foot, not have times in the game where they're going to get their chances. It's a La Liga powerhouse. It has 100 times, 200 times, 300 times the payroll of Seattle. You think you're going to go up against a team like that and they're not going to get theirs? That's just not how it goes. There was always going to be very like lengthy stretches of this game where Seattle's defense was going to have to absorb pressure, where Atletico Madrid was going to show their quality. and score goals. Like, I've watched enough of the game to know, like, especially like when we're talking about like this type of disparity in payroll, there's like a baked in game state that you should be expecting. You can blame RBW for it if you want, but like, I think there's a baked in reality that there's just gonna be portions of the game that look like they did today. And like, it's fine. Like, my frustration with not just this game, but like how they played in these two games, if I could do the negative, it's that the defensive errors that led to the goals they were conceding, for the most part, it was like stuff that like didn't need to happen. It wasn't their quality outshining Seattle's. The first goal that Atletico scored today, that was an example of a goal where I was like, all right, like they get a look in transition, and yeah, could they have done more to prevent Barrios from getting that look? But he also hit an insane shot. Botafogo's payroll is also like exponentially beyond what Seattle can put into their roster. They have a guy named John Texter. Look him up. Funding that. Their roster, every single player is a DP, Botafogo. They were able to fuck with PSG because every single player on their roster is also a big money star player. They just sold Igor Jesus to Nottingham Forest for $30 million. And he bammed on PSG. That's why they were able to do that. Because there is actually more money put into that roster than an MLS roster. The highest level players that you'll find on the average MLS roster, or even the good MLS rosters, every single player on Botafogo is that good. Every single one. Their entire starting 11, their entire bench, every match day squad they put out, it has that much money behind it. So that's, to answer your question, that's why they were able to hang with PSG. And Seattle's probably not going to be able to. I'm just going to tell you that. You should mentally prepare yourself now, because Seattle just lost, or PSG just lost to Botafogo. They're not going to be happy about that. And they literally just won UEFA Champions League. It's the best team in the world. They're still the best team in the world, even though they just lost to Botafogo. Like, they're very good. So why play in the tourney? To test yourself, to see what you can do. For the experience of it. Like, yeah, you're trying to win. Like, why playing it, like, also for the possibility of scoring like a legendary, historic result? And if your personal barometer of success is pulling off what would have been James and I were talking about it earlier. It would have been if they had won this game today, it would have been one of the most remarkable wins any sports team has ever pulled off in the history of athletic competition. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That's how big a story it would have been if they had won this game today. That's how big it would have been. And if they beat PSG, it'll be probably even bigger than that. And there's also, I mean, there's the financial benefit to it. They got $9.55 million that they can theoretically use to strengthen the club. So that's like the financial component does matter. You trying to compare Botafogo to Seattle kind of just shows me you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So I'm gonna step out of this discourse. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy that you actually tried to do that. Who would you like to see at left back mainly the rest of the season? I don't want to like write Nuhu off entirely. Like he's made some mistakes. I think he needed to be benched. He needed to be benched for this game. I do believe that. I do believe that you can't set a precedent that you can make mistakes that are outside the bounds of the game, like mental mistakes that are like selfish and putting yourself above the team and costing the team. You can't have that and then start the guy the next game. I just don't think you can. Maybe that's like a boomer take, but I think Schmetz did the right thing with that. But like, I still think Nuhu is a great defensive player. And if I'm like doing my first, this is just me personally, if I'm doing my first choice 11, just based purely on like quality, he would be the one that I put in at left back over RBW still. I do think RBW should play more though. I do. I like what he brings in attack. I think, you know, no one is wrong that he needs to work on his defense. Like that's fair. That's a very key part of playing fullback. And there were a couple times today where he got caught out of position. That did happen. So he needs to like not do stuff like that. And just in general, like his 1v1 defending, it's work in progress. That's fine. He's a young player. But I want to see him play more because he brings an element in attack that Nuhu just doesn't. Like he can actually make stuff happen. I think he could. I think his upside, he could potentially be a fullback that like meaningfully contributes a meaningful assist total. Do you see the benefit of giving RBW starting minutes outweighing losing Nuhu's defending? That's going to be what the coaching staff has to weigh with that. Because it's like it's a give and take. RBW is always going to provide a lot more on offense, but Nuhu is a lot more dependable defensively at this point. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think to answer your original question, like I think Nuhu's still the starter, and I think that he'll like earn his trust back. I think the message had to be sent today, but he's still the starter on this team at that position. And I think it's happened before in the past where Nuhu's like fucked up and knows that he fucked up. And for the set of games after that, he's like very like on it, which you wish he just would have been from the beginning. We got more RBW crash outs. Wow. What did he do that's got you guys that mad? Like I know like that there was a couple of rough sequences defensively. Like, are we really crashing out over a couple of rough sequences defensively against Atlético Madrid? What did you guys think was going to happen in this game? Did you think that like they were not going to put Seattle under any pressure at all? Was that your expectation? Like what? I think we're losing the plot here. This is like 4 of you now that are like full on losing it over RBW, who was like, yeah, not the greatest defensive game I've ever seen. Agree with that. Was it the worst game a soccer player has ever played? It was not. Like, you guys are... I think you're frustrated and looking for a scapegoat, and you're just picking the young guy who made a couple mistakes. That must be what's happening. I cannot think of another reason we're acting like this. Important question. What's your feelings on that sick jingle DAZN is playing for games? I hate it, but it's stuck in my head. I luckily, I guess being at the games in the box, I haven't had to be subjected to that. I'm going to have to check it out, though, Preston. RDW was fine considering who he was up against. Exactly. Yes. This is the correct take. If this is not your take for after that game, you don't have the correct take. Like, that is the correct take. RBW over Dembele. Yeah, that's actually my take. It's nice to finally have conversation around our fullback battles again. I like Nuhu and Alex, but I think RBW and KK are potential high level starters next year. I agree. It's better to have competition. And I've been talking about how I like the right back competition. I think it's brought out the best in both of those guys. So hopefully RBW can. Well, RBW's been like injured for the last year and a half plus, and he's like just getting back into the rotation. All right, another RBW crash out. I think that's 5. This is an example of like formulating a take that like you're trying to demonstrate ball knowledge, but it's actually having the opposite effect. Like you're trying to be like, ooh, like I know what went wrong. It was the 20-year-old left back playing one of the best teams in Europe. It was all his fault because he was out of position like twice. Are we getting trolled, chat? Like, what is going on? This feels coordinated. Noah was actually able to take photos at the game today. Proud of him for that. USMNT burners. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I liked the guy who was like, if Botafogo can beat PSG, why can't Seattle? That was a good take. I gotta say, this post-game live has had some of the takes have been not good. I don't want to put that on everyone, though. For the most part, you all have been great. Got some crash outs, though. Shane O'Neill. That's a good name drop. I think he's still doing it. Is Shane O'Neill still doing it? He was on Toronto FC as recently as last year. When you Google Shane O'Neill, a professional skateboarder is the first shows up. Oh, wow. Shane O'Neill's in Serbia. Yeah, the whole system at the game tonight was a lot better. I think part of it was like I figured it out, like where the zones were, how to check in before the game so that it actually lets you in when it's scanned. So that was good. And then I think in general, it was just a smoother operation. So, credit to FIFA. They had a rough start, but today was better. It was not a good start. That was one of the biggest debacles I've seen at the first game, at the Botafogo game. But they brought it back. They locked in. It was a lot smoother today. Noah was able to take photos. I did get my credential access denied once, but it's not going to happen again because now going into the last game of this tournament, I finally figured out the full, You have to request either mix zone or press conference. They're not going to approve you for both. I thought I was approved for both, but I was only approved for the press conference. But then, credit to FIFA as well, because they let me in the mix zone anyway. You guys can keep crashing out about the RBW thing. You're kind of like creating like a little community for yourselves. So you guys should have like a live event where you all like get together IRL and crash out about RBW in person. IRL meetup. Is Areola left wing back? Where's he going to play next year? That's a good question because I don't know. There's a lot to figure out for next year because if they want to keep Ryan Kent, someone's got to go. Because the only reason that they and like they're probably going to sell Obed, but the only reason they were able to get Ryan Kent was because the Areola was on season-ending injury. So when he comes back, he's back on the books, and they won't be compliant with both him and Ryan Kent. So, yeah, like the video I saw somewhere earlier that there was like 60 people in here and like 2 likes or something crazy like that. Everyone just go like the video. Don't let us troll. How significant are player jersey swaps? What do you mean? Like to the players? Or like the deeper meaning behind them? There was a lot of jersey swapping going on, which I thought was cool. You're never like the Seattle players, most of them, other than like Obed, maybe if he goes to La Liga, they're never going to play that team again. If they sell Obed, they could keep both Kent and Areola. Yeah, pretty sure that's the case. I think the Obed sale is happening. Like he's been very clear that he wants to go to Europe. And apparently Tigres tried to get him for $10 million, but like he doesn't want to go there. Like he doesn't want to go to Liga MX. And I want to see him go to Europe too. I do. As much as I love having him on the team and like the security of the Christian Obed double pivot. Let's see what he can do. Andrew, thank you for another $5. Appreciate you. Not going to eat teriyaki for a month in protest of news actions. Hopefully Nuhu can learn from this and bounce back. We shouldn't have to be talking about like a 27-year-old player who's been on the team for like 9 years, like learning lessons like this. But like maybe this will be the time where he's like, all right, like I need to just always be locked in and not do dumb shit. Yeah, he does. Like the players going from Liga MX to Europe is just like exceedingly rare. Doesn't really happen. It's not like there's not much precedent for a path of where he would go to Liga MX for big money and then go to Europe. I feel like that just doesn't happen. Oh, hell yeah. We got an A-Bear name drop. Danny Musovsky was breaking the curse of A-Bear earlier this season. And I think that curse is broken with the season that Moose has had. He has 3 times the goals across all comps that A-Bear had his whole time on the team. Shout out to the A-Bear era. It started off. Remember how hot the A-Bear era started off? He scored 2 goals like right off rip, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's awesome. And then he famously did not keep that going. 8 goals in China? I know he was balling in China right after he left Seattle. That was pretty funny. Best guess on a transfer fee for Obed. I'll try to do an actual guess and not like we always joke like 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 100 million. I think it's going to be at least 10. And it should be more. I honestly do think it should be more. I've watched him play enough. I've watched him play enough to know that, like, based on the global transfer market, he's easily worth, some of the fees you see in Europe are just like crazy. Like, you see guys all the time who I know aren't as good as Obed going for like way more than 10 million. I think 12 to 14 is like, that sounds about right. They should see if they can get 15. He's good enough. I don't think he's going to Liga MX. Like, he just, if he wanted to go to Liga MX, they would have just sold him to Tigres for 10 million. I think they probably would have taken that. But I think the whole idea is he wants to go to Europe. Eredivisie or straight to La Liga. I want to see him go. Just me personally. I want to see him go to the Bundesliga or La Liga. I think those are the best fits, and I know he can play at that level. I think we saw today that he can play at that level. I wouldn't say he stock boosted in this tournament to the extent that I thought he might or could, but I thought he did well. The price. Okay, I got you. Craig seems like he's going to play hardball. Eyes on this tournament. We'll have teams bidding over each other. Yeah, like teams do crazy stuff after big showcase tournaments like this. The funny thing is that, like, for all the RBW crash outing that we've got going on, I legitimately think his stock boosted because while he did struggle defensively a bit today, his ability in attack is exactly what teams in Europe are looking for. It's like quintessential modern fullback type stuff that he can do with his like he had like that one play in the Botafogo game where he absolutely mossed the guy. That's the type of play where Euro scouts are looking at that and they're like, oh yeah, I want that. Like, they love that. That's like they love a fullback that can charge into space, moss a guy, put in some wide service. RBW's got that stuff in his bag. So I could definitely see a team looking at it and being like, whatever the just defensive shortcomings there might be here right now, if we can just coach him up, get that aspect of his game going. He's a very talented attacking player, like, without a doubt. I think even the crash outers would have to admit that. Maybe not. There is still this PSG game for people to boost stock. Oh man. They're not going to be happy about losing to Botafogo. They're not. All right, guys, I'm past the 2-hour mark. I've been going all day. So I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. Like the video, sub to the channel, follow us on all socials. Drop us an Instagram follow if you haven't. We're gonna be back at it. We're gonna be covering the PSG game. That's on Monday at noon, which is that's a super cool time for a game. Probably actually can do one of these on Monday evening. So keep an eye out. Follow me on Blue Sky. I always post when we're streaming. And then we'll be back at it full steam ahead for the rest of the MLS season. Score prediction for PSG game. I actually, someone asked me for my score prediction before the game today, and I said 3-1 Atletico. I think like a couple people said that. That's kind of when you think one team is going to win comfortably, but like the other team might be like, it might have like a little bit. You just say 3-1. So wasn't that sick a prediction. But for the PSG game, I mean, I could see Seattle scoring. I don't think they're going to play like their A1 defense. I have to imagine they'll like try and use this as some sort of, maybe some of their young players. I don't know. I think Seattle gets 1. PSG probably gets 3 or 4. 3 or 4 to 1, probably. It's probably what we're looking at. 3-0 Sounders, 5-0 Seattle. I love all that. That's what if they just like go out there and just beat the shit out of PSG? It'd be a good bit. All right. I'll leave it on that. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere. And some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.